Welcome to Becoming a Sleep Consultant. I'm your host, Jane Havens, a certified sleep consultant and founder of both Snooze Fest by Jane Havens and Center for Pediatric Sleep Management. On this podcast, I'll be discussing the business side of sleep consulting. You'll have an insider's view on launching, growing, and even scaling a sleep consulting business. This is not a podcast about sleep training. This is a podcast about business building and entrepreneurship. Aly lives in the Nashville area with her husband and 2 young boys. Over the past year, Aly has channeled her passion into becoming a sleep consultant, a journey that began after she and her husband hired a sleep coach when their own child was struggling. They had such a transformative experience that Aly decided to become a sleep coach herself. Aly has a particular passion for supporting exhausted moms through the challenges of toddlerhood. Her goal is to provide support to moms during what can be a very difficult and isolating time, helping them to find balance and rest so the entire family can thrive. Aly, welcome to the Becoming a Sleep Consultant podcast. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you today.
Hi. Oh my gosh. Yes. Thanks for having me.
So before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about you, share what you're up to, maybe a little bit personally, a little bit professionally, and why you decided to become a certified sleep consultant.
Yeah. So I have 2 boys. I can't believe it. Next, in actually 2 weeks, one is going to be 3 and one is going to be 1. And I just can't believe it. But we live in Nashville. My husband and I have been married for 5 years today, actually.
Happy anniversary.
Thanks. Other than that, I'm pretty boring. I host a book club and we spend time with our kids. We go on bike rides and try to do outdoorsy things, but pretty low key. And I got into sleep consulting because when my oldest was a baby, he slept pretty well overnight. And what I mean by that is he was getting up every 2 hours to feed, but he didn't really have any trouble falling back to sleep. So I didn't have these hour stretches of trying to get my baby back to sleep in the middle of the night. But he did not nap. Naps were horrendous. And I was working from home and I was missing meetings and I was super tired and I was spending a lot of time just trying to get him to nap. And I remember texting my girlfriend, this is the definition of crazy. Every day I'm expecting this to be different and it's not. And I kind of had remembered this podcast episode that I had listened to when I was pregnant, and it had a sleep consultant on as a guest. And so I kind of dug back, I re-listened to the episode, and I ended up reaching out to her. And we hired her. She worked with us and kind of taught us when and how babies should sleep. And really the big thing that I got out of it was that I kind of was getting in his way and I needed to just leave him alone a little bit. And that helped. Everything else kind of improved. His naps were better. He was getting longer stretches of sleep overnight. And I just remember thinking, if you bottled all of this up, it felt like magic at the time. And I loved it. It was a game changer. And so then fast forward a little bit, when I was pregnant with Nolan, our almost 1-year-old, I kept thinking I wanted to do something different. And I kept feeling this pull that I needed to do something meaningful, something that my family, my kids, my husband, that I could be proud of instead of this normal 8 to 4:30 job that I wasn't really happy with anymore. And I was racking my brain. I was trying to figure out what it was, but I knew that I wanted to be able to help moms in a time that feels really, really hard and isolating, even if you have all the help in the world. And sleep consulting just kept coming to the top. And so I figured, hey, I need to kind of dig into this a little bit. So I did some research. I looked at different programs and I found you, and I got on a call with you pretty quick and I absolutely loved it. I dove in and it's been amazing.
I love that story. And you sort of touched on this. You're working full time as you're building a sleep consulting business. I'm wondering how you juggle that, because you have a job, you have 2 young kids, and you're trying to grow a business. What does that look like for you?
It's kind of hard some days. I had to really schedule out when I was going to dedicate time to my sleep business, because one thing is, and I know that some time has to be sacrificed, but I don't want to lose out on time with my kids to be able to do this business too much, because the whole point of this is so I can then quit my job and do this full time to have more time with my kiddos. But I have 2 or 3 days a week that I get up at 5 a.m. and I have a plan. Like on Mondays, I batch my social media content for the week. On Tuesday nights, so some mornings I get up early, some days I stay up late and get my emails done, or, whatever it is that I need to do all the businessy admin things that keep everything going. So I kind of just like really schedule out this time and what I'm going to work on. And that helps too, because okay, I am up at 5 a.m., but I know exactly what I'm going to work on instead of just like, okay, well, I need to get all this done this week, and kind of just really, really schedule it out. And I think that helps a lot.
Yeah. And my guess is like, I always say that I talk to a lot of people who are sort of interested in doing this work, but they're not sure if they have the time, they're not sure if they have the capacity. And I think it boils down to like, do you want to be doing this work? Right. And for you to be getting up at 5 a.m. to batch social media content, like you must love your business. You must be really excited about this if that's how you're prioritizing your time, right?
Yeah. I remember when I first started out, because I graduated the program, gosh, almost a year ago. I think next week it will be. And I had my baby 2 days later, and I was in the hospital, like trying to get in all these Facebook mom groups and just like connect with people and start talking to people and get some experience and maybe get on some calls and do some pro bono clients and things like that. And if I'm being honest, then my business kind of took a back seat because I had just had a baby, and then I didn't really know like all the businessy things. I learned a ton in the course, but just kind of where I was in my time of life, it was just really hard. And so all of that did take a back seat. And it was this, I think, February that I was like, okay, well, I need to kind of start getting back to this and put some energy into it. And so I jumped on a call with you, the follow-up call post-graduating. And I didn't really know like what to talk about. I didn't have questions. And I'm only mentioning this because this call really stood out to me, because I was just like, hey, I have this like super long to-do list, but I felt very overwhelmed and lost. And my list was so big that I didn't know where to start. And I kind of went through this like big avoidance period where I didn't know what to do. So I did nothing. And I got on this call with you, and I got the tough love that I needed. That being an entrepreneur is hard. You don't have a boss. You don't have someone holding you accountable, checking deadlines, checking work product, making sure you're doing all the things that you said that you were going to do. And how we show up for our businesses is what we get out of it. If we put in the work, we're going to see the fruits of our labor, right? Like we're planting seeds, we're seeing those results. And so what you put into it is what you get out of it. And how I showed up for that call and how I was showing up for my business in the time was very reflective of that, because nothing was happening. And I could have left that call and felt very discouraged and disappointed and been like, well, I guess I didn't make it. But I took that and I was like, no, this is the push that I needed. I got on a call with Allison Henderson, social media coach. That week, I took your advice and got a business bestie from the CPSM graduate group, which is just a wonderful community of support. But since February, I connected with one lady in particular, and we really are business besties now. Like, I love her. If I don't talk to her, like even for one day, I'm like, hey, where are you? I miss you. Like, what's going on? And so we've really gotten to have that relationship, have that support. And I just decided like, no, I'm doing this. And now let's figure out how. Like, okay, there's obstacles. I have kids. It's hard. I work a full-time job, but how can I work around those obstacles to be like, okay, well, I need to get these emails sent. Instead of just saying I need to do it, like, when am I going to do it? Okay, I'm going to do it Mondays at 5 a.m. Done. And then I have a checklist every week. Instead of that like really big daunting to-do list, I have like small attainable checklists to be like, I can do this week to week, small list, and just keep going one step at a time. And that was really helpful.
I'm so proud of you. You really have come, you really have come a very long way since the beginning. And it's very impressive. You mentioned to me offline that you've sort of started niching down and you're really enjoying working with toddlers and preschoolers. Can you speak to that a little bit? How did you land in that place? Are you marketing yourself as a toddler and preschooler sleep expert? And what do you love most about it?
Yeah, so I had listened to some podcasts and like seen different things about the whole like niching down topic and just wanted to learn more about it. And I really thought about it. And as my oldest, now he's almost 3, the older he's gotten, and the more I've just fallen in love with this toddler age group. And I guess I didn't like officially, I guess I did niche down, but I still work with babies and toddlers, but I've kind of worded it to where like I specialize in toddler sleep. So yes, I still help the teeny tiny babies and all of that, but I really just love working with the toddlers and kind of like shifted all of my social media content and my website to be geared toward toddler moms. But I just fell in love with the age group just watching my own little boy grow, and the level of communication and involvement is so wild to see, like how much they just get it and they can be involved in the process. And these parents have also maybe been struggling the longest. Like these kids can bite and kick and run away and they're screaming and they're spending like hours trying to get them to sleep, or they're in parents' bed and it's affecting other things. And kind of, I guess my main focus is really taking this dreaded bedtime of maybe like 2 hours and making it fun. And the babies, like they adapt and they're so much quicker, and you can sleep train them and you see those results and it's amazing. And I love getting all like the baby pictures that my client sends me and stuff. But I just feel like the level of involvement and how much fun you can have with the toddlers is amazing. I love it. I send little videos to my toddlers that are like age appropriate. And a lot of times the moms will send one back of their little guy. And I'm like, oh, it makes me so happy. And I get to see their little smiling faces and how proud they are when they have, wins overnight at bedtime.
Yeah, I love it. I'm also working heavily with toddlers and preschoolers, and I find that I don't know, maybe it's the same with infants, but my toddler referrals are all toddler referrals, right? So, like my clients who have 3 and 4-year-old children who are not sleeping, once I get them sleeping, then they're like, they have to tell all their friends who have 3 and 4-year-olds who also do not sleep. And so it's sort of self-fulfilling thing where like you work with one and then the next one comes and then the next one comes. Do you find that that's happening in your business as well?
I think so. And I don't know if it's just because like they have been struggling for so long that they're just like, oh my gosh, like this did feel like magic. And a lot of the parents that I've been working with of my toddler moms, I'm finding that they are pregnant and expecting second baby. And they're just like, I have got to get sleep in a better place because this new baby's coming and I'm not going to be sleeping. And maybe just like with the referrals and stuff and like how great it feels is that maybe they just expect like, okay, I'm not going to sleep for the first year or something. But when they're dealing with 3 and 4-year-olds, they're like, okay, like my baby or my toddler should be sleeping through the night. And so when they're not and they don't know how to fix it, and then you come in or I come in, then it does feel like this really big thing. And they're like, I have to tell everyone.
Besides word of mouth referrals from past clients, where are you finding your clients? I know you said that you're working to build your social media.
Mhm.
Do you get clients from Facebook and Instagram? Do you have other things that you're working on to build your business and your sort of marketing footprint?
I have learned a lot about Instagram and really been funneling a lot there. But aside from that, I've been working on kind of like two projects, I would say. I launched my own podcast this summer. And so I have really been putting a lot of love and energy into that. And it's really just like a space for all things motherhood and sleep, is what I say. In that we're just supporting other moms through all things momhood, right? Like anything that comes up. And then I sprinkle in my sleep things as well. But I've been using that as my platform to reach moms, connect with moms, support moms, but then also maybe be salesy without being salesy. And then coupled with that, I have been doing a lot of baby expos and baby fairs, really just getting my name, my face out there. And that's been really cool because I've gotten to connect with other vendors. I've gotten to meet people in the community and really take like, Instagram people are everywhere, but really get to lay down roots in the community of where I'm at. And I've really seen a shift in the people that are calling me and the families that I'm working with. When I very first started, working in like Facebook mom groups and everything, like maybe someone was in Texas or, wherever, but the calls that I'm getting, and I think all of my clients this summer have been all local Middle Tennessee moms. And I really, really like that.
I love that too. I actually sometimes wish I had more local clients, even though like we don't, do you ever do in-person sleep training? I don't, but I'm wondering if you do.
I don't either. Some people ask, and I'm just like, oh, well, maybe I would consider that if the need arose, but, all my services are virtual. And then that's kind of like, it's never really gone farther than that. So,
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about it because like whenever I work with a family that's local, it's like, oh, I recognize your area code. This feels really comfortable and this feels like we're close and we're at home, but also I still don't go to their house. I don't see them face to face. So I'm not sure that it makes much of a difference, but I do think that it's valuable and it's nice to build up connections within your own town and your own circle. I do think it's easier and faster to grow when people who are within your community, whether it's like your kids are in preschool together or you go to the same church or synagogue, or spend your summers at the same pool, whatever it is. I do think it's easier to make long-term, strong, meaningful connections if you have those local connections in place.
I would agree with that. And I think that that connection and like the trustworthiness thing, it just grows because they know like, oh, you're here, you're a mom, like I've seen you around, or maybe I've met you. I've gotten to meet a couple of my moms that are local just at like kids' play places and things. And so that was really neat. So I'm like, oh, I just worked with you. Like, and now I get to actually meet you instead of just talking to you on the phone or seeing you on a video chat like this. And
Yeah. So I think you mentioned again offline that you're supporting about 3 to 5 families a month right now, which is amazing. That makes me so happy to hear. Is this a comfortable workload for you? Do you want to grow your business? Are you feeling like you're sort of at capacity with trying to juggle your 9 to 5 and then also your sleep consulting business?
I do think that it's comfortable. I would like to kind of be maybe like 5 to 6. But I think that right now, like that number, like maybe 5 to 7 would be max for me right now. So I'm really comfortable with where that is and growing. And I kind of, in March and April took us, was working on growing my business and doing all the back end things. And it really did flourish, like starting in May to where I started getting calls and working with clients. And then since then, it's been pretty consistent. And hopefully that does continue on as I put in the work, and then more clients each month would be great, and then help to be able to quit my full-time job and do this full time. But I would say right now, like the 5 is a really good number, and I could maybe do like 1 or 2 more, but I think that it would be a little bit harder to juggle everything and be able to still support those families fully.
Fair enough. But you mentioned your goal is maybe one day to transition out of your full-time job and do sleep consulting instead. I love that that's like a maybe down the line, right? Is that what it looks like for you?
Yeah, I really like working. I'm a paralegal, and I have a really good working relationship with my boss. And really just, I also like getting out of the house and doing that. And so right now it works for our family. My husband works weekends, I work during the week, and then, everything else just kind of falls into place. But it would be nice to be able to just be a business owner and then have all that extra time with my kiddos and things too.
Okay. Well, look, you've only been at this a year and you're already, I think you're sort of exceeding your own expectations. Definitely like you're ahead of where you thought you would have been if you look back to like 6, 9, 10, 11, 12 months ago. So I think you're ahead of the game. You're doing great. And I hope that you continue to grow organically and in a way that works for your family, works for your lifestyle. And if at some point down the line you can shift from, you know, working in an office to just doing sleep consulting from home, that would be incredible. Before we wrap up, do you want to share? I would love to hear more details on the podcast. Let us know where we can listen. I would love to tune in. And if you want to share social media, your website, whatever you want to share with us.
Sure. And thank you for that. I am really happy with where things are and really excited to see what is to come. I do want to share, just for the listeners who maybe are just starting out, even when there's months that are like a little bit slower or less clients, or maybe I'm not, getting clients, or those stretches, I really hold on to and love seeing the wins in other ways, like to be able to have that time to build up my website or getting on more intake calls or whatever it may be, that even if there's not money coming in, there's still all of these other seeds that are be planted that I will see results on later. And that's like, instead of really focusing on like the number of clients, I look at the overall picture of how my business is growing. And the podcast is really special to me. I would love to share it. It's Aly, the Restful Mama, and on Apple, Spotify, wherever people get podcasts. I have about, I think, 6 episodes today. And so I'm really excited let that continue. And I'm kind of on this series of meeting with different experts and professionals in the mom baby world and kind of talking to them about their experiences and supporting moms. But really, it's just all things motherhood and sleep. We all have ups and downs, and we all go through the same thing, even if we feel like our motherhood journey is like very specific to us. Like, we're all just doing the same thing, and we're all just on the same ride, and it's great and it's beautiful and it's hard and it's all the things. But my social media, I am on Instagram, Aly_sleep consultant, ALY_sleep consultant. And yeah, that's me.
Perfect. I love it. I really appreciate you taking a moment to point out the beauty of like the slow periods and how to use them strategically, because I think that this is something especially brand new sleep consultants get really tripped up with. Like, we as entrepreneurs don't start our businesses with like a full book of business. That's not the way it works in the beginning, right? Like, you start off just by trying to find one or two people that's willing to get on a phone call with you. And maybe you have those phone calls and they don't go great. And then you feel like, oh, this is too hard. I can't do this, right? And instead of getting down and feeling like I can't do this or I don't want to do this anymore, I love how your mindset has really become like, what can I do? Like, if I'm not supporting families right now, what can I do to be supporting families next week, next month, next year? And I think that that's a difficult mindset to achieve, and it's really great and impressive that you're there. And as long as you have that attitude, your business will continue to grow, because as you said, you're planting the seeds that will bloom down the road. So amazing, incredible. I'm going to check out your podcast. Congrats on your early success, and we'll have to do this again soon. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Becoming a Sleep Consultant podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, it would mean so much to me if you would rate, review, and subscribe. When you rate, review, and subscribe, this helps the podcast reach a greater audience. I am so grateful for your support. If you would like to learn more about how you can become a certified sleep consultant, head over to my Facebook group, Becoming a Sleep Consultant, or to my website, thecpsm.com. Thanks so much, and I hope you will tune in for the next episode.